welcome back to Live With, brought to you by Quest Nutrition. Visit questnutrition.com. I'm Dave Palumbo, and I am here in the studio today with our guest, two-time classic men's physique champion in the pro ranks. He won Pittsburgh, he won New York, and he's got to be considered one of the favorites for the first ever Classic Physique Olympia, which is going to take place this September in Las Vegas. The man I'm talking about is our good friend, Arash. Welcome.
Thank you, David. Thank you, guys. Pleasure to be here.
Now, one of the things I always try to do about my guests is look for something that's unique about them. And I'm looking at Arash Rahbar. I'm looking all over. I'm like saying, what could I get that's different? You owned a restaurant, a Persian restaurant. I love that.
Yeah. I grew up in the restaurant business from an early age. My family was, that's what we started when we came to this country. So from the age of 12, 13, I was in the restaurant business, did everything in it, and then grew up and managed and owned my own.
That's got to be phenomenal. It's got to be like a different lifestyle, having a restaurant, because it's like a labor of love. You're always there.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. It was our recipe, all of our food and stuff. So it was a big part of our family. Tons of work.
Who was the original chef, who came up with the recipes? Is it like the mom's side, dad's side?
My mother and father together.
Wow.
When they first opened the first restaurant, Kabul Kebab in Flushing, which is still there.
Give me the name again.
Kabul Kebab House.
I love it.
A little plug there for you guys. It's Flushing Main Street. Amazing place. You could watch them cook the food at the grill in front. They opened that. My father was in the front doing the kebabs in the dining room, and my mother was in the kitchen doing the stews and the authentic Persian food. So
I love it.
Yeah.
And when did your parents come over from Iran?
I was born in 80. There was an Islamic revolution in Iran, so we came over in 81. So I was a baby. I was one.
Wow.
A lot of families fled because of the revolution. We didn't know what was going to happen. The country was upside down.
That's when the Ayatollah came in.
Yeah. So I was born in Tehran, but I basically grew up in America. I was here from the age of 1.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah. So your parents came here and they said, we're going to open a restaurant.
Yeah, they got into, my uncle was here already kind of in the restaurant business, so they worked for a while. They went to school, learned the language, and then they opened Kabul Kebab, the first one, and then there was a few that followed after. And
what was the name of your restaurant?
Persian Tea Room.
Persian Tea Room, like the Russian tea room.
Yeah,
Persian tea room.
It's a great place.
Yeah. And was there a night scene there as well as?
There actually was. We had a stage. We had belly dancers every weekend.
I love that.
We had famous Persian singers from Los Angeles coming on Saturday nights. So it was cool. It was a very fun place.
So coming from the restaurant business, which I'm sure was all encompassing there all the time, how did you get into the whole working out realm?
For me, bodybuilding was a passion from an early age. I mean, I started picking up magazines, looking at Arnold, Sylvester Stallone, and Hulk Hogan at the age of 12. I made my parents get me a preacher bar and a couple weights at 12 years old and started playing around. I got into martial arts very young because of my father. But at 13, 14, I found whatever the closest gym was at the time. It was a high school gym, and I started lifting. It was just a passion, and it grew from there. I never thought about competing. I wasn't around, usually young teenagers that compete, they have a mentor, a father, a cousin. I didn't have any of that. I just loved bodybuilding. And as my body developed, I loved it more and more and more. And it never stopped. I've been bodybuilding for 22 years. I use the word bodybuilding. People think, oh, you're oiled up and on stage. No, I was training for changes in
your
body composition. I was building my body.
At what point did you say to yourself, you know what? Maybe I want to compete, get up on stage. I mean, when did that first come into your mind?
In my mid-20s, I was like, I'm going to compete. I'm going to do the Hercules. I want to do Muscle Mania. And I just kept postponing it. I was very, very tough on myself. I didn't think I was well-rounded. I grew up aspiring to be like and looking at the bodybuilders of the 90s. Kevin LeBron, one of my favorites, Dorian Yates, Ronnie Coleman. So comparing yourself to these guys and then looking in the mirror, I was a shrimp.
Right.
So I just kept putting it off. And then when I was in the restaurant business, I was working 12-hour days. And
Which is tough.
I was training. I was eating a lot, a kebab.
Yeah, we talked about that. You said you enjoy your food.
I ate a lot, and I met King Kamali after the Night of the Champions back in the day.
Right.
And I was like, you know what? I want to take this to the next level. I did it like a natural, clean bulk, just eating tons of food. And I got my body weight up to like 240, 250, which was a mistake.
Yeah.
But
that's King Kamali was known for putting on enormous amounts of body fat, and I guess you figured he's Persian, I'm Persian. Let me see what he does, right?
We learned and we know better now that it's not necessary to grow,
right.
But I did that, and it definitely took me to another level of strength and muscle density, which shows now later on.
Sure.
But I just kept training, and even when I was in the restaurant business, I'd go to the gym at midnight, and I did my thing, and I think that's what really brought me to this point now. I mean, as tacky as it might sound, I feel like when the classic physique division was announced, it hit me like I've been prepping and training for this season, for these shows for 20 years unknowingly.
Well, that's why I bring up, you started very late. I'm sure a lot of people probably have said to you, or maybe behind your back said, this guy's not going to be a pro. He's 30 years old.
Yeah, I mean, I've never.
How old were you when you first?
I've never heard that said in my face. But,
probably behind your back. How old were you when you did your first show? Had to be in your 30s, right?
Well, my first show was Atlantic State 2014.
Yeah.
So it was 2 years ago. I was 33.
Crazy.
I don't think it's ever too late to compete or step on stage. If I started training like this at 35, maybe it'd be too late. But I had already gotten so low in body fat dozens of times over the years, not competing.
Think
for
about
vacations, for summers.
How many people wait this long? I mean, you were passionate about this sport for your whole life, and you never ever got up on stage. You get up on stage the first time, and I mean, you're a pro in a year.
Yeah, that's when everyone was like saying, "Oh, you won and you did so well so fast." I didn't look at it that way because I had been training at this level and eating and being OCD for 20 years. And there's a lot of people out there. I think now it's mainstream. Yeah. But 10, 15 years ago, I remember I had a lot of friends that were really hardcore, full-blown bodybuilders but didn't compete.
Right.
The sport is very mainstream today, and you see guys jumping on stage after 6 months, 1 year, 2 years of training. But, when I grew up and in the 90s, it was different. It didn't happen that way.
Well, I think a lot of people, that's why they don't understand they're like, where did this guy come from? I never heard of him. Yeah. They think you came from another country or something like that. And I said, he's always been around.
I'm mysterious.
Yeah, you're very mysterious.
The Persian myth, I've been called.
Now, obviously, you turned pro in men's physique, the 2014 North American Championships, and you described that to me earlier when we were speaking, and you said that you feel like you didn't even belong there.
I did the Atlantic.
I find it interesting.
I did the Atlantic States. I won that overall. It was my first show. I looked very crisp. I looked good. I trained really hard for that. 2 weeks later, I went to hopefully get my pro card at Team U and just tanked. I got 12th. It was a different criteria. I didn't look bad. I looked just as good, if not even a little sharper. But it was different criteria. They're looking for a different look. And then I, wasn't planning. I didn't know what I was going to do. And then I kept going for North Americans. And it was like a 6-7 month prep. Right. So I was really just shot at North Americans. I feel like it wasn't my best. Mm-hmm. I had a look. I had a good men's physique look, and it was a softer a look, which growing up in 90s bodybuilders, I didn't like. I remember going backstage thinking, oh my God, look at these guys. Like, I want to look like him, and him. But they liked my look, and I won. But do I think I think I was sharper at Atlantic States.
Well, the men's physique division has gone through so many iterations and so many evolutions over the last couple of years that they really didn't have a look. They were looking for one show it was this way, one show it was that way, and you happened to obviously hit it right on that North American. It seems like now they're really looking for a more conditioned look.
Yeah, it's evolved. I mean, when men's physique kind of first hit the scene, it was more like Abercrombie model. Right. And just like anything else, just like bodybuilding, just like muscle cars, it evolves. The sport evolves. Every sport has evolved. When you see what's possible. Before the first person ran the 4-minute mile, we didn't think it was possible. After they ran the 4-minute mile, many people did that.
Roger Bannister. Yeah.
Exactly. In the 70s, if you told someone, you're going to have a guy named Ronnie Coleman be 300 pounds, 4%, you'd laugh. But it's been done, and it'll continue to be pushed. So men's physique has evolved as well. Mm.
Now, you placed in a men's physique pro show, 5th at the Pittsburgh, I think it was 2000. New York, right? Yeah. New York. And, I mean, people were talking about you being the next big thing in men's physique. When Classic Physique was announced, why did you decide to go to Classic as opposed to staying, with the men's physique, which you were doing well at?
Oh, it wasn't even a question in my mind. It's a passion. Bodybuilding's a passion of mine. Men's physique is where I fit in at the time.
Mm-hmm. Well, you had legs, too.
I did. I had legs. I trained legs always since an early age. I was ecstatic. I thanked Jim Mannion and the IFBB Pro League for that. It was what I really wanted to do. I think I would have gone forward and done well. I would have qualified for Olympia. I did the Pittsburgh Pro as a men's physique competitor. I placed 10th, New York Pro 5th, and Puerto Rico 2nd. And those placings were deserved. I don't think I deserved much better. I mean, Chase beat me at Puerto Rico, and it was a deserved win. I didn't look that great in those 3 pro shows in men's physique. I was a little bit off. New York Pro, I was pretty sharp. But I think if I had another season, I would have qualified for the O and been there top 5 maybe.
People had said that you were too big for men's physique. I don't know how you feel about that. I felt like you were hurting to get down to that look that they were looking for. This kind of enables you to be yourself more.
I think so. I never really killed myself in men's physique to make a certain size. I dieted, and that's how I ended up. In the gym, I looked a lot bigger than your average men's physique guy because I just had a lot more muscle. So you have smaller guys that are more like GQ model type, pushing the envelope to get a little bit bigger to fit in men's physique, whereas I was a little bit more maybe well-developed or muscle maturity, and when I depleted and dieted hard, I came down and I fit in. I didn't try to lose muscle at all for men's physique.
When Classic Physique was announced, obviously, and you said, hey, this is a division I fit into, what made you decide to contact Chris Acedo to work with him?
Well, first of all, I did my first backflip ever when they announced it. I don't even know how to do a backflip, and I did one. I decided I've been dieting and training for 20 years. I think I know my stuff. As far as knowing my body, it takes decades. Everything changes. I wanted to work with someone. I wanted to have someone's opinion and eye, especially the last few weeks. I think that's very crucial. Mm-hmm. And I did my research, I did my homework, and I saw a lot of funny stuff with coaches online. Yeah. And I said, look at this guy. It wasn't that, oh, he's coaching XYZ. I listened to him. I listened to a lot of interviews with you and him. Right. Listened to what he had to say, his demeanor, and the more and more I saw videos and interviews and things written by him or of him, I gained more and more respect for him. So I like his style. I like his technique. I had a short conversation with him, and I pulled the trigger. I was more than comfortable, and I'm more than happy now that I chose him.
Well, the results speak for themselves. You won Pittsburgh. You won New York. Yeah, how did it feel like to stand next to Darren Charles on stage? Because here's Darren. As you're coming up, obviously Darren was a guy you probably saw at shows, and he was winning shows throughout the 90s and 2000s. And now you're standing on stage with him and competing against him, mano a mano. Obviously, one of the top Classic Physique guys now is Darren. Were you nervous?
Not so much. I do my best not to focus on other competitors because I think that can really mess you up and get in your head. As far as how I felt competing against him, it was an honor. He was definitely in the 90s a big guy, and I remember seeing him on the scene. And it's an honor to compete against him, and even a bigger honor to beat him. But I think he's great. I mean, it's his record now speaks for himself. He's picking up a lot of wins. I think he just won Puerto Rico this past week, and I gotta say, I gotta give the guy a lot of credit. It's not easy to do show after show.
He did every show so far.
Every show, traveling, and so regardless what you guys think of his physique, if you're a fan or not, you gotta give credit where credit's due. Like it's not easy what he's doing, and he's doing it well.
And I'm sure he obviously is going to be gunning for you at the Olympia because you beat him. Yeah. And when you look at the pictures from New York and Pittsburgh, and you really are critical of yourself, what do you want to see better at the Olympia?
I'm really, really hard on myself, and I think that's why I've gotten as far as I have. The lighting and color and everything, really, it's hard to tell. Like the hotel pictures for New York, Chris and I agreed this was the best I ever was. But I think I was better in Pittsburgh when you look at the stage shots.
Mm-hmm. Why is that, you think?
I don't know. I just felt like I was a little bit rounder, fuller, looked bigger, although I wasn't. I don't know if it was the coloring or the lighting. We're seeing some from New York there.
Yeah.
It wasn't anything majorly different. I mean, always you could argue that maybe you're a little bit sharper, a little bit more crisp because you're more fresh for the first show. You
told me after your winning interview, that you had some leg issues. Some knee problems?
Before, in the fall, we did some racing, and I had a torn LCL, very light tear.
When you say racing, serious. What kind of racing are you talking about?
Endurance racing cars.
Oh, okay.
So before my prep, my knee was a little banged up, and I wasn't really able to squat or even hamstring work really bothered me.
What's endurance racing? Tell me about
car
that.
Racing, it's just instead of a one race, 1 hour or 1 day, it's spread over a few days.
Right. So how many hours do you race per
2
day?
2 hours a day because we have 4 teammates, and 3 days. 2 days of racing and a day of practice.
Where do you race?
Different tracks all around the East Coast.
And
Connecticut, New Jersey, New Hampshire.
What kind of cars do you drive?
This was a BMW. It was
that's cool.
BMW M3. Yeah.
Oh, the M3. I love
Yeah,
those.
it was the older ones, the '92.
Yeah, those are fun.
Yeah, great cars. That's another passion of mine, you know.
Another with 6 speeds.
Absolutely.
Oh wow, that's cool. And how fast do you go in those cars around the track?
You know, everyone always asks that. You go faster in the street on the highway usually. It depends on the straightaway. It's you hit maybe 140, 150 on the straight, depending on the
scary
track.
Though, yeah.
But it's more about the infield and how intricate it is. You know, the sharp turns, 20, 30 mile per hour turns are more technical than just going fast in a straight line.
Right. You like the adrenaline rush from that?
I love it. I'm an adrenaline junkie. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
And you don't worry about getting hurt in any of these things?
I don't know, man. It just I have a love for it. I have a love for cars, motorcycles too. I ride bikes. Never race bikes, but do a lot of track days when I have time. And it's very conflicting with bodybuilding.
Yeah, very.
Yeah, because the seasons overlap. My race suits don't fit me anymore.
I was going to say, are you unbalanced on the bike because you're so heavy now?
You know, I haven't ridden in a few months. I think the balance will be fine.
Yeah.
There's guys bigger than me.
Because these guys are skinny that are on these bikes.
Oh
usually.
yeah, well, to be competitive at a high a professional level, yeah, I wouldn't be at that competitive at all.
Gotcha.
I outweigh them by 100 pounds.
You do it all: restaurants, racing. You're
try.
the Renaissance man of the 2016.
Trying to be well-rounded.
Coming up for the Olympia, obviously, this is going to be the first Olympia. Everyone remembers the first Olympia champ.
Yeah.
I can name all the first Olympia champs for all the divisions, probably, because I might not be able to get the other ones, but you remember the first.
Of course.
How important is this show to you in the scope of your life?
This show to me is everything. You know, people ask me, how do you feel about Pittsburgh? How do you feel about New York? I said, ask me about after the Olympia. You know, this is all a stepping stone to the Olympia. You know, that's, I want that title, and I'm gunning for that title, and I think about it every single day, from the second I wake up till I go to sleep, from now till then. I was back in the gym the day after New York, and I've been in the gym every single day since that day. Scope of my life, you know, it means a lot to me. You know, right now I feel like bodybuilding has become the center of my life. You know, it's always been a big part of my life. It's always been a hobby. But now it's, you know, the better I've done, and it gets a little bit, it takes over more and more, and it takes priority over other things as well. So my main focus right now is prepping, getting ready, improving for the Olympia.
Now, Sadiq Hadzovic also announced his switch to the Classic Physique division, which we all knew was coming, but we haven't seen him on the stage yet, and we come to find that he got a special invite to the Olympia. Some people think he didn't deserve it. Some people think it's not right, that he should have to qualify. What are your thoughts on that?
Honestly, I don't really know. I mean, I don't even know how that works too much. About, like, you know, Kevin Levrone came out of nowhere too, and he's doing the Olympia. I don't know how that works. I mean, I know that I qualified and I'm doing the O. Whoever else shows up, you know, best of luck to everybody. I can't. It's not in my hands, you know. And I'm not a politician. I'm a bodybuilder,
Yeah.
so I never really get too much involved in that stuff. He's a friend. He's a great kid. I think he's going to do great. I wish him the best.
Well, let's face it. You guys train at the same gym.
Yeah.
You're both Middle Eastern.
Yeah.
There's definitely some kind of a rivalry there because of the fact that you both train at the same gym, and everyone knows all you guys. We have the same friends, the same scope of people we rotate in. Do you feel there's any competition? There's any kind of is it growing as we get closer to the Olympia that you guys have this, rivalry going?
I don't know. I'll let you know in a few weeks. I mean, Sadiq and I go way back. We know each other before either of us ever competed.
That's what I heard, yeah.
On my end, not really. Maybe it's my age, where I am in my life. I just don't think that way, you know.
Sure.
I'm just pretty cool and open with everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Everybody always asks me leading up to shows about other competitors. And one thing that I don't do from when I was an amateur is look at other competitors. Because where are you going to look at them? You're going to look at them on social media.
Right.
And look, 99% of the pictures
Filtered.
are hand-picked, and they're not real. This happened to me the first pro show I did. I saw this guy, and I was like, oh, my God, he's going to kill me. This guy looks incredible. And neither of us did well. I placed 10th. He placed 12th. He looked like a different human being, and it turns out he had an app on his phone. So
right.
Don't look at other competitors, especially backstage. It's such crazy energy. Just focus on yourself. If you see somebody a week out that looks better than you, what are you going to do? You're going to train harder? Mm-hmm. If that's the case and you actually could train harder, then you're in the wrong sport. Yeah. You're not cut out for this.
It's good point you make.
Yeah.
Talking to the judges after your wins, what would the judges like to see from you come Olympia time? Same physique, something different, better? What do they say the Olympia they'll be looking for?
I didn't get into too much detail about what they're looking for at the O. I got some feedback on how I looked at both shows, and they were very happy with what I brought, and I didn't get too much critiquing from Pittsburgh and New York. They were happy, and I think my scorecard shows that too. I didn't see the scorecard yet for New York, but for Pittsburgh, it was a good score.
You were a unanimous winner.
Yeah, so I think I can improve. I told you that in the interview, but I think they were happy with my look, and I'm flattered about that.
And New York and Pittsburgh are great shows too, obviously, because Jim Mannion, Steve Weinberger at both shows judging you. Those are the guys who are going to be judging you at the Olympia. That's got to give you some sort of a confidence boost going into the.
Well, that's why I chose these shows. They're East Coast shows. New York Pro. I mean, you got to do the New York if you're from New York. And I have the judges and the eyes in the Olympia at those shows, so it means more to me. It doesn't mean much to me to go travel to some show where there's no competition and it's a completely different judge. So I'm not one to go somewhere and try to get an easy win. They were both respectable shows, respectable on-point judging, and the lineup they were pretty good lineups.
And we were talking about food before the interview, and we were saying what would you say your favorite food is to eat?
That's a trick question.
Yeah.
It's like asking me my favorite car, all of them. I love sushi. I love Mexican. I love Persian food. I love kebab. But all these foods, there's two ways of eating them. There's the throw caution to the wind way, and then there's the healthy way. Like Persian food, when I eat it the healthy way, if I have chicken kebab and salad, it's not as enjoyable when you have the rice and the appetizers. So I have too many to name just one.
What's your favorite car?
I'd have to say
dream car. If you can pick anyone you have.
Car manufacturer, I'd have to say Porsche.
You missed it. A good friend of mine just pulled up in a Mercedes SLS, and he just got it. You would have liked that one.
It's a beast of a car.
Yeah, you probably can drive that.
I have respect for all cars. Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming in and talking to us in the studio, and congratulations on the win in Pittsburgh and New York, and good luck at the Olympia.
Thank you, Dave.
Come September. That'll take us to the end of another episode of Live With, brought to you by Quest Nutrition. Visit questnutrition.com. I'm Dave Palumbo. We'll see you next time.